Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth podcast alongside Mike Evans. I am Mark Schler. Thank you so much for tuning in and downloading the podcast or whatever it is you do. Push the like or the subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We need all of it, and I'm counting on you guys to do that. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. And I just want everybody out there watching to know that this guy is a big deal. This guy's a A-lister. This guy's a heavy hitter. Why don't you tell people where you spent Sunday night and all day Monday?
Well, I spent Peyton Manning had a golf tournament here in town at Cherry Hills. Cherry Hills is like it's the spot, right? It's the creme de la creme.
It's like the Augusta National of Denver.
It is, and it's got a long storied history. I think the biggest thing is Arnold Palmer won the 1960s U.S. Open there. The 1960 U.S. Open, it was came back from 7 down to win the Open, and so it's got this storied history. A lot of amateur Opens have been played there. That's going to go on this year. That's what we were there for, to raise money for the First Tee Foundation and do a bunch of stuff. But got to hang out with a bunch of different celebrities here in Denver on Sunday night as they raised money in a big auction, and then somebody bid $50,000 to be on Peyton Manning and Eli Manning's Manning cast.
No kidding.
Yeah. So they're gonna get to join the Manning cast and talk a little football, and it was just a really cool event. Great, just a great venue, a beautiful venue. The golf course is just magnificent, and I got to see firsthand. Of just kind of being almost a fly on the wall of understanding why Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning. So,
organized?
Oh my gosh. It just is incredible the amount of detail the guy throws together. You're getting text messages on a daily basis. Here's your attire. Here's a wardrobe. You got to show up at this time. Da 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 da. And it's just constant. And then voicemails. He'll leave a whole voicemail. So he left this voicemail about, hey, Sunday night we're doing an event. I want to be prepared. I want to have some of you up on stage to talk about what you're going to talk about. And and went through this whole thing. I got to just share this text message with you. So he had this whole litany of things that he wanted. He goes, you've got to have, some good stories. They have to be funny. He's very serious in his voicemail. They got to be funny. They got to da-da-da-da. And, so text me back and give me a couple stories, and then I'll see if you fit into my rundown. So basically,
you're auditioning.
You're auditioning. So this is what I write back to him. I go, I'm probably the last on the celebrity ladder rung, but I'm a great storyteller. So I could tell you the story about how I single-handedly won Super Bowl 32, how I intimidated Arnold Schwarzenegger at the height of his career and made him run away, my personal fight against skill position players and why it's total bullshit. Anything I don't have a story for, I'll just make up on the spot. I never let the truth get in the way of a good story. No pressure. Don't feel obligated to use me on stage, but I am a super fucking yoked old dude that smells like victory. You're welcome. Yeah, that's my text message back.
And here's the funny thing: he teed you up with exactly the stuff you gave him.
Yeah, and a few others, as well. Yeah. So he's so I walk into this event Sunday night, and the O lineman in me, we're supposed to be there at 6. So the O lineman in me, 20 minutes. It takes 20 minutes to get there. So what if there's traffic? It's Sunday night, right?
You're right.
What if there's traffic? What if there was an accident on the way? And what if I got a flat tire? So it's just the way I think.
Because folks, as an offensive lineman, Mark's guiding principle was what could possibly go wrong.
Right. What could
always thinking about what can go wrong. So
I left my house. It's 17 minutes to the golf course from where I live. I left my house I was supposed to be there at 6. I left my house at 5:12, just in case. And so, and 6 was not a hard, they're not going to let you in if you don't get there right. A lot of people trickling in.
If John Elway rolls in at 6:10, he's going to be allowed in.
Yeah. So I roll in there. So I'm the first guy in there, and I'm just kind of sitting around. And I'm not the first guy because Peyton's the first guy.
Sure.
And he's up on the stage with the mic, going through the whole program, and it was so funny because we are so 100% opposite. So he's like asking the principals that have created the event, right? He's like, well, what if this happens? And he's going through that. No, now how are you gonna introduce me? Now what are you gonna say? And so I've got to have my scripted response, and it was the most detailed thing I've ever watched. Where I got no questions. It'll all work. Like it'll flow together. We'll be fine. And he is totally dialed in. And so then he walks over to me, and kind of just say, hey, thanks for being here and stuff. And goes, by the way, you better be on your A game because you're first up. And I go, I don't need to be on my A game. I'm on all the time. And obviously got up there and just went full show pony mode.
Oh, yeah.
Just full show pony mode.
Nothing like Mark Schlereth show pony.
Oh my gosh. It was fun. It was hilarious.
So that's Peyton Manning prepping for a charity golf event. Can you imagine what he was like the week of a Patriots-Colts game with a showdown against Bill Belichick and Tom Brady?
No.
Can you imagine what it was like in the Colts headquarters?
Yeah, you better.
Try being one of his receivers.
Can you imagine? Well, be one of his coaches.
Yeah, right.
And don't have an answer.
Right.
Like when he says, well, what happens if they get into this particular front and they do this and, they play this invert two and that. And then you better have an answer.
Yeah.
You need to have an answer, and he is literally one of the most dialed in, he's just one of the most detailed people. So it was fun. I can see why, he's super successful in everything he does, and me, I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants.
So let's see. You had Peyton was there, John Elway, Terrell Davis, Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey, Andrew Whitworth was there.
Mike Shanahan.
So.
And a bunch of the Avalanche were there. Yeah. We just had a Chauncey Billups was there. Mr. Big Shot, Alfred Williams was there. There was just a ton of guys. It was a lot of fun. And the cross section of former athletes, current athletes, and different. Like we had a couple of the Avalanche there. Nathan McKinnon was there. Eric Johnson was there. Adam Footer was there, which is with his glorious nose.
Greatest nose ever.
Oh my gosh, that nose is what was it? What was the old? Was it Rand McNally, the Atlas thing? You just open up. And every time I see Footer, God bless you, Footer, I love you. Every time I see Footer, I think to myself, oh, there he is, right there's Adam Foote. And it's like that scene from the Austin Powers with the mole guy, I'm always like, don't look at his nose. He's like, mole. Like, don't look at his nose. Don't look at his nose. Oh, shoom, tractor beam. You can't help it. It's just so glorious. It's all over the place.
It's a hockey player's, defenseman, fighter's nose.
Right.
I mean, it's just
that thing has been
beautiful.
Broke. That thing has been broke more than I don't know what. I was going to say something about bankruptcy, but that thing is broke.
Well, it sounds like a great event and great stories coming out of it.
I got it. Broke more than a college student at the end of the month. How about that?
Boom.
How many times were you digging through your cushions looking for change at the end of the month? Eating top ramen.
Peyton Manning would have needed a week to come up with that line.
Yeah, right.
Boom. Just like
right
that.
There.
Some stories. Still a lot of news being made by the NFL. This is one of those years. Are you a Hard Knocks fan? Do you like Hard Knocks? Every summer?
No, I'm not. It's fine. I don't like last year I watched it because I had Detroit with Fox week 1. I had Philly at Detroit. And so, it was interesting to me. I wanted to watch it and see kind of how they put their team together, see the way it operated, and then you get to kind of really understand and know some of the prominent players and some of those storylines. So it was worthwhile to me to watch it, and I liked what Dan Campbell was doing out there.
Well, it certainly feels like NFL teams look at Hard Knocks like Hard Knocks has run its course because nobody's volunteering. And we're now at a point where the NFL may force a team to do Hard Knocks, and it appears right now that could be Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers, and the New York Jets. which, hey, sign me up for that.
I would love that. That one would intrigue me. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. We had Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, was our head coach here last year. Got fired after 15 weeks. And so to see that dynamic, that relationship, put the offense together. Robert Saleh is one of my favorite people in the NFL. Man, that dude is so solid, and he's such a good coach and a good man. I'd love to see that. But let's face it. If you're an NFL team, you're in management, you're a coach, or you're a player, you don't want those cameras on you 24/7. Like and you know there are going to be some guys that develop into stars, kind of the made for star, like made for television stars, but the distraction, the getting in your business, and then some guys will make it more about developing their brand than about being football players. And you don't want to have to deal with that either as a coach. So I understand why NFL teams don't want it to be a part, don't want to have anything to do with it, because it's a pain in the ass. I mean, it would be a tremendous pain. So anyhow, but I would be very intrigued by Robert Saleh and the New York Jets. I think that's great. I think they're a really good young team. I think obviously with Aaron Rodgers, it makes them a legitimate contender for the playoffs. So yeah, for sure, I think it would be.
You're high on the Jets. So and I know you're a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but in order for Rodgers to work, there has to be something already there. You think that there's a good structure in place with the Jets?
I think they've got a really good defense. And then I think they've got, some real good young, just some good young players on offense that are dynamic. And, then you put Aaron Rodgers in an offense that he's run, for pretty much his entirety of his Packer career. Like those are going to be good things. And I do. I think they're young, but I think they're very talented on offense. And then I think you look at that when you have a lot of young talent in there, and then all of a sudden you have a veteran guy that really knows what he's doing and can help mentor those. Because as a player, your coach can coach you up on just about anything. But when it comes from player to player, like sometimes a coach will tell you to do something, and you're just like, it doesn't resonate for whatever reason. It doesn't. It's like talking to your own kids, right? You can tell your kid, like you could tell your son Brady something about baseball, and you could do it till you're blue in the face. Mm-hmm. And he's like sitting there kind of, and you're getting pissed because he's almost rolling his eyes at you.
Yes.
Right? You know that.
Yeah.
And then if I came over to your house and I said the exact same thing that you just said, Brady'd be like, oh, it makes perfect sense now. Right.
And he'd be like, rapt attention.
Right. Oh my gosh, right? Is that what you do? So it is one of those things when it comes from another player, and players have a really good way of saying, okay, think about it like this.
Right.
And the coach will explain it one way. You're like, yeah, I get what he's saying, but this is how I think about it. And okay, that finally makes sense. And so to have Aaron there to say, hey man, the leverage on this route, or when we get this defense, this is how I would make a micro adjustment to that route so that we're on the same page. The players eat that stuff up. Mm-hmm. They eat that stuff up.
When we're looking for a comparison, so what Jets fans can expect, am I fair in saying this is similar to Tom Brady's first year with Tampa, in that Brady came from what he knew for so many years in New England, Rodgers coming from what he's known, and put together with a pretty talented group as Brady jumped in with Tampa, but that took a while, right? Yeah. Weren't they at one point, 7-5?
Yeah, something like that.
And then they go on to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. Could you see a similar type trajectory here with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers in year one?
I see more early success from the Jets than from Tampa.
Interesting. Why?
Well, because Brady came from a system where he wants everything pre-snap to be basically figured out. So he wants to have motion. He wants to be, very fluid in the way they operate their offense so that you can undress the defense and get indicators before the ball is snapped. So you're watching Edelman motion. You're watching them move guys out of the backfield. You're watching a lot of stuff go on. Tight ends go from one side to the next side and all that kind of stuff. They're all pre-snap indicators of what the defense is going to turn out to be, right? So he's basically fishing for information. He's trolling for information. He gets the information he wants. He goes, I know where my matchup is. I love this. Whereas Bruce Arians, who was the head coach of Tampa at the time, Bruce Arians is more about let's be static and let's read the defense after the snap. So there was this amalgamation of these two different offenses, and those two bumped heads. And if you know anything about Bruce Arians is very stubborn, you know? I mean, that's who he is. And so is Tom Brady. So there was this melding of these two offenses that took some time and basically had to convince each other to relinquish some of the control that the other had, the other wanted, and they did a great job of coming together on that stuff. But that was kind of what went down. You're walking into this. This is Aaron Rodgers' offense. Mm-hmm. There is no, hey, but we still want to run this. No, this is Nathaniel Hackett, who is really on this rehabilitation circuit after what went on here in Denver. Not all his fault. Not all his fault by any stretch of the imagination, but they've worked together in Green Bay for so long. This offense will come out and be better. Here's the one thing that Brady did for Tampa that I believe Aaron will do for this young Jets squad. Brady came in, and he is so detail-oriented, and he has such a work ethic and such just a drive that even talking to guys like Mike Evans, who had been to 6, 7 Pro Bowls in a row, whatever it is, he goes, you think that you're doing all you can do. You think that you've kind of maxed out. You think you're working. And then Brady comes in here and blows everybody away. Mm-hmm. And it was like the challenge of going, oh, my God, we all have to pick up our game. And when Aaron walks in, his base of knowledge, the way he thinks about football, and the way he works from the neck up, that'll have a huge influence on a bunch of young players that will see this is how you become a professional. I always say this, just because you play a pro sport does not make you a professional. And there's a lot of young players that are playing in the NFL or playing a pro sport that aren't yet professionals. And Aaron walks in to the Jets and helps teach them what professional football is really all about.
So what you just described to me, then I'm going to go with a different comparison. Instead of Rodgers, Brady, I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning here in Denver. Because that's what it feels like.
Right.
Because now you're talking about not only changing that culture immediately, all the neck up stuff, hey, this is what being a pro is all about, but that was Peyton's offense here right away. John Fox was the head coach. He's like, hey, Peyton, do your thing. And they took off right away.
Right.
I mean, that was a really good offense right from day one.
It's a great comparison because John Fox, defensive coach, Robert Saleh, defensive coach. Turn the offense over to Aaron Rodgers, turn the offense over to his coordinator. Who was the coordinator here at the time? Was it Adam Gase?
I think it was
maybe?
Adam Gase, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a very similar. Now, a little younger squad with the New York Jets than they had here. A little bit more veteran presence here with Demaryius Thomas and some of the different guys they had. But still, I think that's a really apt comparison to what went down. And you saw the influence Peyton Manning had the day he walked in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just
changed the culture overnight.
You completely changed the organization
overnight.
Yeah, and so I think Aaron has the ability. Aaron has the ability to have that kind of same impact on the New York Jets.
Well, Pro Football Talk would seem to agree with you. They came out with their power rankings now that we're through the OTAs and the mini camps and all that. So now that we head into the break, these are their rankings going into the season.
Okay.
Top 10. Top 10 power rankings. Here we go. Number 10.
Okay, wait a minute.
Like I'm David Letterman here.
Should I try to guess my top 10 that they would come up with?
Sure, let's see how many teams you can get in the top 10. You don't even have to get them in the particular order.
Okay, I'm just going to give my top 10. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I just have to, because I got to look at the teams. You know what I'm saying? Because,
Guy covers the NFL every single week. He needs to be reminded who plays in the NFL.
Okay, the Chiefs are in the top 10. The Bengals in the top 10. 49ers in the top 10. Let me see here. Eagles in the top 10.
4 for 4.
I've only picked 4 teams so far. Cowboys in the top 10. Let me see.
I'm amazed you're struggling.
Why?
There aren't some more obvious ones? All right, keep going.
Well, this is the way let me get this. Let me get the standings. Okay, there we go. Oh, yeah, that's Buffalo in the top 10. Miami in the top 10.
So far, you're on a roll, dude. You're 7 for 7.
Okay, I'm going to put Baltimore in there.
8 for 8.
Let's throw in, this is a little tricky, Jacksonville.
9 for 9.
And then let's throw in Miami.
You said Miami.
I already said Miami.
How about the team we were just talking about? You want to put the Jets in your top 10? Put your Jets. Put the
Jets.
Yeah, you go.
Jets.
10 for 10.
All right.
You got them all.
Nah, it didn't take me long.
That was laborious. Boy. All right, so here's what they got.
Here's what they got.
Kansas City number 1, Philly number 2, San Francisco number 3, Cincinnati number 4, Buffalo 5, Jacksonville 6.
Okay.
Miami 7, Baltimore 8, Dallas 9, Jets 10.
Wow.
Do you disagree with that hierarchy at all?
I don't know, but it does one thing just completely jumps off the page there. One thing that completely jumps off the page. Okay, all of those teams, right, that you mentioned, -1, know who their quarterback, like they have their quarterback, right? Baltimore, Dallas, Philly, they know it. The San Francisco 49ers.
And they're third.
Yeah.
Despite not really knowing what they got at quarterback.
Which again is a testament to the personnel and the coach. Because I mean, it's going to be, barring injury, health. If health is not a concern, so let's say both Trey Lance and Brock Purdy are completely healthy. There's no competition. It's going to be Brock Purdy. That's not even a competition. And you're talking about the number 3 overall pick versus the dead last Mr. Irrelevant pick. And Mr. Irrelevant is, to me, head and shoulders above from a competition standpoint in that position. But it does go to show you what they've done roster-wise and the way they coach that team.
The other thing that jumps out, Pro Football Talk's rankings, top 10 teams, 7 AFC teams, 3 NFC.
Yeah, right.
Boy, the AFC is going to be just a rock fight.
Yeah.
You're going to have good teams that are going to miss the playoffs with their quarterback in place and are just going to be looking and saying, oh, God, if only we were in the NFC.
Yeah.
How much better we'd be, how much higher we'd be seeded. We could be a top 3 seed in the NFC.
What does it say about a team like Minnesota who just had an unbelievable season last year? I think they had 11 games that they won, by a score or less, that they don't even crack the top 10.
Nope.
And they've got their at least for one more year, they've got their quarterback. There's some teams that are interesting in there that are left off.
You got some teams who are convinced they have their stud quarterback of the future who didn't make this top 10 list.
Sure.
No Chargers with Justin Herbert. Right?
That's because Chargers are going to charge her.
No Broncos with Russell Wilson and the monster contract that kicks off this year.
Right.
Excuse me, next year.
The Raiders, no Raiders with
Jimmy G.
Arizona Cardinals with Murray, who's going to come off an ACL, so he probably won't be ready at the beginning of the season.
Well, funny you say that. So guess who Pro Football Talk has as their 5 worst teams? Should we do this again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Let's do this again. It was so much fun the first time around.
Right.
Let's do this again.
But now
who are their 5 worst teams?
5.
And again, in no particular order. Let's see. You got 10 for 10 on the best teams.
Okay.
Let's see if you can guess the 5 worst teams in no particular order.
Okay. Let me just go into it'll be Arizona's going to be on one of those.
Correct.
Let's see here.
Just kind of think of the teams that were picking
Carolina.
early in the draft. Nope. Oh, your streak ends.
Carolina's not on there?
Not in their bottom 5, no.
Wow. Atlanta?
Nope.
Well, I'm really doing poorly here. Well, I mean, Houston. Indy.
The last two are going to surprise you, I think. Definitely one of them. Well, actually two. But I don't think you get either
Not
one.
New England.
Nope.
NFCs or AFC teams?
Both NFC.
Both NFC. I got to flip over to the NFC real quick. Arizona was right. The Rams?
Yep.
Wow.
And can you guess the last one? I don't think you guessed the last one. Not considering the hype.
It can't be Chicago.
The Chicago.
Really?
So Pro Football Talk had as their bottom 5 teams, number 32, the worst, Arizona, 31, Houston, 30, Indy, 29, Chicago. The 4th worst team in the NFL? That does not fit with the offseason narrative that's out there regarding Justin Fields and the moves that they made. And then the Rams, even with Matthew Stafford coming back, the 5th worst team. So, hey, it's if the summer is great for anything in the football season, it's rankings.
Yeah, lists.
Love the lists and the rankings, right?
You got to love the lists.
So there you go. Speaking of San Francisco and the quarterback situation, does this change your mind at all? George Kittle talking about Trey Lance and working out with him this spring. Quote, Trey has been great. I think he took steps forward in the OTAs. It's really fun when you start connecting on plays that you might have struggled with in the past, and that's something that we did at OTAs a couple of times, so that was fun. Got to get a lot of extra work in with them. So do you look at the San Francisco quarterback situation differently now?
Nope.
No?
Hey, that's awesome.
He was the 3rd overall pick. They gave up a lot. Don't you think they want to see this work out?
I think that you look at how the quarterback room is structured, and they gave up a lot. And one of the biggest keys in football or in sports in general or in life in general is to know when what you did, what your plan A was becomes plan B. And to be able to have the character and the humility to go, yeah, we're moving on. And I think Brock Purdy came in and played the way he played. And I think they feel really confident in how he operates that offense, his athleticism, his unbelievable pocket awareness as a young player, understanding protection, his foot energy, the way he moves and manipulates the pocket. They're looking at, hey, their quarterback room as a whole, guess what? Our quarterback room as a whole is very underpaid. It allows us to continue to build our roster. So whether it's Trey Lance or whether it's Brock Purdy, they're not spending any money in their quarterback room. So they can spend it elsewhere. So,
yes, what George Kittle did not say in that interview, if asked, who would you prefer to play with?
Yes.
Trey Lance or a healthy Brock Purdy? I think every 49er veteran in a Super Bowl window would prefer Brock Purdy.
Yeah, if you said, hey, so is Trey Lance, whoa, I didn't say that. I didn't say, we really we connected. Yeah. All right.
Well, you got the top 10 and the bottom 5. Care to guess who the other teams were in the middle?
No, I don't want to guess the middle teams. Hey, listen, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, we thank you guys so much for listening, for downloading, for liking, for doing whatever it is you do. Appreciate you guys, and we'll be back with you later on in the week.